They walked in to buy a Rolls-Royce. He told them to try a used lot instead. The next day, his jaw hit the floor. You ever walk into a place and instantly feel like you don't belong? Not because you don't, but because someone decided you didn't? That's exactly how it felt for Eugene and Marlene Bellamy when they pulled into the parking lot of the Walters Auto Group off McFadden Avenue in Orange, California. A clean, sunlit Saturday morning. Their silver Lexus, 8 years old but well kept, rolled to a stop near the entrance. Eugene, tall, a bit stiff in the knees these days, turned to his wife and said, "You ready, baby?" Marlene smiled, adjusting her pearl earrings. "Been ready since last night. Let's just look. We ain't got to rush." They were celebrating their 53rd anniversary that weekend. 2 kids, 4 grandkids, 1 stubborn little dog back home. Eugene had always promised her that when they hit 50 years, he'd buy her something that made her feel as beautiful as she looked. She chose a new car, not just any car, but something she'd never imagined owning. Something smooth, sleek, luxury. So here they were. But as soon as they walked through those polished glass doors, something shifted. 2 salesmen in crisp polo shirts glanced over, then looked away. One muttered something. They both laughed. Eugene, ever the gentleman, offered a polite nod. "Good morning." Nothing back. Marlene tightened her purse strap, glancing at the sparkling showroom. A white Rolls-Royce Ghost sat gleaming in the center. Next to it, a black Cullinan with suicide doors slightly open like they were mid-bow. It looked like something out of a dream. "Can we help you?" came a voice, sharp, uninterested. They turned. A younger man, maybe late 20s. Hair slicked back. "Khakis too tight," name tag said Ryan. Eugene cleared his throat. "Yes, sir. We're interested in possibly test driving one of the Rolls-Royces. Just looking to get some information today." Ryan raised an eyebrow like he'd misheard. "Uh-huh. Well, those vehicles start at $400,000. Just so you're aware." Marlene blinked. "We're aware," she said, slow but steady. Ryan glanced at their clothes. Eugene had on his favorite tan cardigan and dark slacks. Marlene wore a cream blouse and a brooch shaped like a sunflower. Comfortable, presentable. Ryan smirked. "It's just, people usually book appointments ahead of time for those models. And typically, well, no offense, folks, but most serious buyers come through our executive entrance. You might be more comfortable down the street. We've got a used luxury partner store there." Eugene stared at him. The air in the room had gone still. "Is that so?" he said, voice calm but with something underneath it. Ryan nodded, completely missing the weight in Eugene's words. "Yeah, they've got some great deals on certified pre-owned Lexuses and BMWs." Marlene looked around. The other employees weren't even pretending to be busy anymore. One leaned on a desk, arms folded, watching, amused. Eugene gave Marlene a look. That look husbands give when they want to cuss but are trying not to. She touched his hand. "Let's go." No, Ryan said, making no move to stop them. "You're welcome to stay. Just saying. Saves everyone time, you know?" They walked out. No yelling, no fuss, just silence. As they reached the car, Eugene opened Marlene's door. He stood there for a second longer than usual, staring at nothing. "You all right?" Marlene asked. He nodded. "I'm fine." But his hand lingered on the door. They drove off, the dealership behind them. But that feeling? That stayed in the car, in their chests, in the quiet between their words. But Eugene didn't know that his silence would soon speak louder than anything Ryan had ever said. The Bellamys lived in a modest 1-story home on a quiet street in Fullerton, just 15 minutes from the dealership, but a world away in how it felt. The front yard was tidy, lined with trimmed hedges and marigolds. Inside, the living room smelled faintly of vanilla and old books. A soft gospel record played in the background. Mahalia Jackson, just loud enough to fill the silence. Eugene sat in his favorite chair, hands resting on his knees, still in the same cardigan. He hadn't said much since they got back. Just parked the car, walked in, and sat down like someone had unplugged him. Marlene came out of the kitchen holding 2 mugs of tea. She handed him one, then sat down across from him. "Why did they do that?" she asked quietly. Eugene looked up. "Treat us like we don't know better, like we're slow, or poor, or lost. After all these years, After all we've been through. Eugene stared at his tea for a long second. They saw what they wanted to see. Didn't matter who we were. Didn't care. She leaned forward. You think if we had on a suit and heels, it would have been different? He gave a half laugh. Maybe, maybe not. I've been black longer than I've been retired. I know how this goes. Marlene shook her head. I don't want a car from there no more. I don't either. They sat in the quiet, the needle on the record player clicking at the end of the side. Then Eugene reached for the house phone. Marlene raised an eyebrow. Who you calling? Our boy. In a sunny apartment in Santa Monica, Dorian Bellamy was reviewing code with one hand and flipping a veggie omelet with the other when the landline lit up with the name Dad. He picked up. Pops, you all right? Eugene's voice was even. You got a minute? Always. What's going on? Eugene paused. Me and your mama went by Walter's Auto Group this morning. Dorian lowered the heat on the stove. You were looking at that Rolls-Royce, right? Yeah. How'd it go? Eugene let the silence stretch. Marlene's voice chimed in faintly in the background. Tell him the whole thing. And Eugene did, calm, measured. No anger in his voice, but the kind of steadiness that comes when a person is tired of swallowing things just to keep the peace. When he finished, Dorian didn't say anything for a second. Then, you said it was the one off McFadden, right? Yeah. Dorian's voice was quiet now. All right. Thanks for telling me. You okay? I'm good. You sure? Pops, I'm real good. They hung up. Back in Fullerton, Marlene turned to Eugene. He's gonna do something, isn't he? Eugene sighed. You know that boy? She smiled faintly. Takes after you. Eugene chuckled. Nah, he moves different. Quiet thunder. But nobody at the dealership had any idea what kind of storm was coming the next morning. Sunday morning, 9:43 a.m. The dealership lot looked the same as the day before. Shiny cars lined in perfect rows, a spotless showroom with that glassy, overwaxed floor, and salespeople already sipping coffee, prepping for another easy day. They had no idea. A matte black Tesla Model X pulled into the customer lot, windows tinted, wheels spinning silent. Out stepped Dorian Bellamy, 38 years old, 6'1", beard neatly lined, hoodie and jeans, nothing flashy. Just clean, quiet, focused. He walked straight through the main entrance, hands in pockets, eyes scanning the showroom. Inside, 3 salespeople stood near the front desk, including Ryan. Ryan barely looked up. Can I help you, bro? Dorian stopped, looked him in the eye. You sell the Rolls-Royce Ghost here? Ryan blinked. Yeah, but like I told another guy yesterday, appointments are best, and we usually require a pre-approval letter to even sit in it. Dorian didn't flinch. I'm not looking for financing. Still, just protocol. Dorian tilted his head. You say that to every customer? Ryan didn't answer, just forced a half smile. Another salesman approached. Dennis, older, looked like he knew how to read a room better than Ryan. Sir, is there something specific you're interested in? Dorian looked past both of them. I'd like to buy 2 vehicles today, a Ghost and a Cullinan. You have both in stock? Dennis blinked. We do. Yes. I want both. Today. Cash. That pulled a few heads. A manager peeked out from the office door. Ryan looked like he'd just swallowed a lemon. Are you serious? Dorian finally smiled. Just a little. Dead serious. Dennis stepped in quick, trying to take control. Sir, we'd be happy to help. Would you like to sit in the lounge while we get the paperwork started? I'd prefer to see both vehicles first. Of course, right this way. They walked him through the showroom. Doors opened, leather seats admired, specs listed. Dorian nodded occasionally, but said little. Finally, back in the lounge, Dennis handed over a sleek folder. If everything looks good, we can have them detailed and delivered this evening. Dorian took his time flipping through the folder. Cool, but before I sign anything, I just want to make one thing clear. Dennis paused. Sure. Dorian set the folder down. Yesterday, you had a couple here, older, black, dressed neat. Man had a tan cardigan, woman had a sunflower pin. They came to ask about these same 2 cars. Dennis looked confused, then slowly realized. That was my parents. Ryan, standing nearby, went pale. Dorian continued. They told you they were interested, polite, respectful, didn't raise their voice once. And y'all talked to them like they were asking for directions to the bus stop. He leaned forward, calm, slow. I've spent my whole life watching them carry themselves with grace. My pops worked 40 years at the same company and never missed a single shift. My mom ran the house, the church pantry, and half the neighborhood. And the way they were treated in here was disgusting. Dennis tried to jump in. Sir, I wasn't... I know. You weren't the one. But you were here. Ryan opened his mouth. You, Dorian said, looking at him. Don't say a word. Ryan froze. I came here today because my parents raised me to be better than what they were given. So I'll still buy these 2 cars. But you can be sure of this. He picked up the pen and signed the documents with one clean stroke. I'll be sending the delivery address. You won't see me again. But when those cars pull into my parents' driveway tonight, the whole neighborhood will. And every person you brushed off yesterday is going to know exactly what you missed out on. He stood up. Now go clean them and send someone else for the delivery. But that wasn't the part that left the dealership quiet for the rest of the day. It was what Dorian said next, over his shoulder, just before walking out the door. Dorian paused at the glass doors. The morning sun poured in, bright and sharp. He didn't look back. You should think long and hard about how many people like my parents you've turned away without ever knowing who they were. Then he walked out. Not fast, not angry, just steady. Back inside, it was dead quiet. Ryan stood frozen, still trying to process what just happened. Dennis glanced over at the manager, Mr. Halperin, who had crept out of his office at some point and was now watching the exit like it had just swallowed a ghost. Halperin broke the silence. Did he just say 2 Rolls-Royces? Ryan finally found his voice. Yeah, and I swear, I didn't know. He never said who he was. Halperin raised an eyebrow. Didn't need to. You should have treated the couple like people, not like a charity case. Ryan folded his arms, defensive now. They didn't look like they were seriously buying. And now we're delivering nearly $1 million worth of vehicles to their house, Halperin snapped. Congratulations. Dennis slid the paperwork into a folder and left for the back. The rest of the floor slowly picked up their phones again, whispering to each other, but the energy had shifted. Ryan looked down at the showroom floor, same floor he stood on every day, but now it felt different, like it was looking back at him. By 5:30 p.m., 2 freshly detailed Rolls-Royces, the Ghost in glacier white and the Cullinan in obsidian black, were loaded onto separate flatbeds, strapped down and secured. The sun was beginning to dip, casting an amber glow over the palm trees that lined the freeway. At exactly 6:08 p.m., they turned onto Valley View Drive. Neighbors peeked out from windows. Some stepped onto their lawns. Word travels fast in neighborhoods like this, especially when something this shiny rolls in without warning. The flatbeds stopped in front of Eugene and Marlene's home. The same Lexus still sat in the driveway. A knock came at the door. Eugene answered. 2 professional delivery agents, both in black polos with embroidered logos, stood on the steps. Mr. Bellamy? One asked. Yes? The agent smiled. We have 2 vehicles scheduled for delivery, Rolls-Royce Ghost and Cullinan, both under the name Dorian Bellamy. Eugene blinked. You sure? The agent chuckled. Pretty sure, sir. By now, Marlene had come to the door, her hand over her mouth. Eugene stepped out onto the lawn as the ramps lowered and the hydraulic lifts released. The first car descended, then the second. Neighbors gathered quietly, not a word, just watching. Dorian's Tesla pulled in just behind them. He stepped out with a soft grin. Happy anniversary, he said. Marlene rushed over, grabbing his face with both hands. Boy, what in the world? I told you I was good, Dorian said, hugging her. Eugene stood with his hands on his hips, shaking his head like he'd just watched someone make a full court shot blindfolded. Son, this is too much. No, it's not enough. Dorian gestured toward the cars. They should have treated you like royalty. So now, you're pulling up like it. Eugene walked around the white Ghost, his hand running across the hood. This the same one from yesterday? Yup, same one Ryan said you weren't good enough to sit in. Eugene laughed, shaking his head. Man. Across the street, old man Thomas from 2 houses down clapped. Ms. Evelyn next door wiped a tear. The whole block felt it. But the Bellamys didn't smile because of the cars. It was because, for once, they didn't have to explain their worth to anyone. Later that evening, after the flatbeds had pulled off and the crowd began to thin, Dorian sat with Eugene on the porch. Marlene was inside, calling her sister to tell her everything, every last detail. Eugene had a cold ginger ale in hand, his legs stretched out in front of him, eyes on the ghost that now sat in his driveway like it had always belonged there. "So you really paid cash?" he asked, still sounding a little stunned. Dorian nodded, didn't flinch, signed it like a rent check. Eugene whistled low. "You always were a little dramatic." Dorian laughed. "Had to be. You know how many times I watched you walk away from being disrespected and never say a word? Just take it. Quiet. Cool. I used to think that was weakness." Eugene turned to look at him, eyebrows raised. "And now?" "Now I know it was discipline." Eugene nodded slowly. "There's a time for fire, and there's a time to let silence humiliate people better than shouting ever could." Dorian sipped from his bottle. "That boy at the dealership, Ryan, he was real bold. Because he thought he could be. That's how this world works. People judge you in seconds, based on clothes, skin, posture, whatever makes them feel like they're in charge." Dorian sighed. "Thing is, I didn't want to embarrass him. That wasn't the goal." Eugene looked out over the street. "No, but you did something better." "What's that?" "You gave him a mirror." Back at the dealership, Ryan sat in the break room, phone untouched, dinner cold. The manager, Halperin, stood in the doorway. "You're lucky he didn't film the whole thing," he said. Ryan didn't respond. Halperin walked in and leaned against the counter. "You ever think about what makes a good salesman?" Ryan shrugged. "I sell more than anybody here." "Yeah, because the customers that look rich walk through that door and you pounce. But the ones that are rich, you don't even see them." Ryan looked up. "You want me to apologize to him?" Halperin shook his head. "He doesn't need your apology. You need to apologize for yourself. So the next time someone walks in here, you treat them like they matter, because they do." Ryan said nothing, just stared at the wall, thinking. The next morning, Eugene pulled up to the corner gas station in the Ghost, stepped out slowly, calm, proud. A teenager pumping gas nearby stared with his mouth open. "Excuse me, sir," the boy said. "Is that yours?" Eugene looked over, smiled. "It is." "Man, that's clean. What do you do?" Eugene chuckled. "Retired." "For real?" "For real." The boy blinked. "You must have been doing something right." Eugene nodded. "Tried to live right. Worked hard. Raised a good son." The kid smiled. "Respect, sir." Eugene climbed back in, door gliding shut like a whisper. He didn't need a loud engine. His presence was enough now. That afternoon, Dorian sent a quiet email to the dealership. No lawsuits, no threats, just a message that read, "Your dealership lost the chance to treat two good people with kindness. I hope this experience changes the way you see people who walk through your doors. Some of us carry wealth in ways you can't always see." He didn't hit send with anger. He hit it with clarity, because what happened wasn't about revenge. It was about respect. But respect isn't just something you give when it's convenient. It's how you treat people when you think no one's watching. A few days passed. The neighborhood was still buzzing, not from noise, but from the story. Word had made its way to just about everyone on the block. Not because the Bellamys bragged, but because people noticed when two Rolls-Royces show up in a driveway that used to have a single silver Lexus. And not just that. They noticed why. Eugene and Marlene kept to their routine. Morning walks, grocery runs, church on Sunday. They didn't change a thing. But the way folks looked at them did. A little longer, a little more respectful. People who used to wave from a distance started stopping by to talk. "Is it true?" a neighbor asked one afternoon. Marlene smiled politely. "If you're asking whether our son showed up and gave us more car than we know what to do with, yes, baby, it's true." They never mentioned the dealership, not by name. They didn't need to. The lesson was already moving through people, softly but firmly. A week later, a small envelope arrived at the Bellamy home. No return address, no logo. Eugene opened it at the kitchen table. Inside was a handwritten card. "Mr. and Mrs. Bellamy, I want to personally apologize for how you were treated at our dealership. It was wrong. I was wrong. No customer should ever feel unwelcome. You deserve better, and I hope to do better moving forward. I know a card doesn't make up for what happened, but I still wanted to say something instead of saying nothing at all. Ryan. Eugene passed the card to Marlene. She read it in silence, then folded it and placed it inside a kitchen drawer. Keep it? He asked. She nodded. It's not for us. It's for him. Later that evening, Dorian called. They laughed, talked about the grandkids, and he joked that they better not let the Rolls sit in the driveway too long without driving it. Eugene chuckled. Son, I still don't even know what half the buttons do. Dorian laughed. You'll figure it out. Mama's probably got the manual memorized already. He was right. She did. Before hanging up, Dorian said, I didn't buy those cars to show off, Pop. I bought them because I wanted the world to see who you really are. Eugene paused. We've been who we are, he said quietly. The world just took a little too long to see it. That night, the Cullinans sat in the driveway, still gleaming under the streetlight. A few houses down, a little boy pointed at it from his porch. Mommy, he asked, can regular people drive cars like that? His mom looked down at him, then across the street at the Bellamy house. She smiled. Those aren't regular people. They're the kind of folks who made the world better just by being in it. Because sometimes the real luxury isn't in what you own. It's in being seen, being heard, and being treated like you matter. Don't ever let someone's clothes, age, or silence fool you. You never know who you're talking to or who they raised. If you believe in treating everyone with the same level of respect, whether they're wearing a suit or sneakers, share this story. Someone out there needs to hear it.